Well, hey everybody, thank you for checking in once again. Are you looking to shoot some film, but you're not sure which camera to buy? Well, you've come to the right place, because today we've got some fantastic camera and lens combinations to show you, starting at around about £50. They're all really nicely made. They all carry the Zonography seal of approval, and they will all make you some fantastic images, so stay tuned. The Beatles said all you need is love, and they may well be right, but I think any of these camera lens combinations will do a pretty good job too. These cameras and lenses are all tried and tested machines. They're well built and reliable, and the lenses are some of the nicest you can find from the vintage years. So buckle up, hold on tight, and let's get cracking. Okay, the first camera lens combination I would like to show you is this one. This is the Pentax Spotmatic, and this is a fantastic old camera. It's an all manual camera, meaning that there is no auto function, there are no auto functions at all. You don't get any auto exposure, and you don't of course get any manual focus, because focusing is manual on these vintage lenses, but no auto exposure on this camera. Instead, you get a built-in meter, built-in light meter, which is powered by a little battery underneath this cover here. And once you install that, then a little needle, you'll see a little needle in the viewfinder here, and all you do, you simply match either your aperture setting or your shutter speed on the top here until that needle is in the right point that indicates the correct exposure. So it's a very simple, very easy camera to use. There's very little to think about. All you do is set your exposure right using the needle, focus, and take your shot. It's a really easy piece of kit to use. It will also teach you, because this is an all manual camera, it will also teach you, if you've not experienced it, manual photography. You will learn as you're entering those light settings, as you're entering those aperture values, shutter speeds, etc. You will learn how to do manual photography on one of these with the assistance of that little meter. That's all you need. It's very simple, very easy. If you like this channel, can I ask that you consider giving me a subscription? The more subscriptions I get, the easier it is to keep bringing you this content. And if you really like this channel, please consider becoming a patron over at www.patreon.com/Zonography. That makes it possible to bring you more content too, and you can become a patron for as little as $1 per month. These cameras are magnificently built. It's hard to describe how well these things are built. This camera, I bought this probably 7 or 8 years ago for a lens. It had a nice 50mm f1.4 on it, and it was fairly cheap. The camera and lens combination was fairly cheap, so I bought it really just for the lens. And the camera's been sitting unused in my camera storage cupboard for all those years. I literally have not shot it in all those years. However, when I came to it today, it works perfectly. The lens, which is now 40-50 years old, feels like a brand new one. These cameras and lenses are possibly the best built of all the vintage cameras, possibly. They're certainly in the very toppest of the top rank, if that's a word, toppest. I think I just made that up, but you know what I mean. These are very well made cameras. Now, curiously enough, I did mention the Beatles earlier on, and there's a Beatles connection with this camera. I've been watching Hard Day's Night recently, and there's a little montage where Ringo goes off with a camera on his own. Just he gets lost, separated from the other Beatles. So he goes off on his own with a camera. This is the camera that he uses, the Pentax Spotmatic. So there's a real Beatles connection with this camera, which I kind of like, being a big fan. In fact, you never know, it's very unlikely, but this could be the very camera that Ringo used in that movie, and that would be even nicer, but I guess we'll never know. But a very nice camera. It's an M42 mount, by the way, so this camera will shoot thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of lenses. So many were made in M42 mount. All of the Pentax Super Takamars are M42 mount. There are later ones in K mount, but any that look like this with the black finish are all M42. And of course you can shoot any other M42 lens you want on here, a Helios 44 or any of the Pentax lenses or any third-party lenses. You'll just never run out of choice for lenses, such as the lineup that was made and that this camera can use. So a really nice camera. It's got on it the 55mm f1.8, and that's a gorgeous lens. It gives stunning colour because it's radioactive, so if you're not keen on radioactive lenses, maybe avoid this one, but as long as you're sensible, don't hold them near to any sensitive parts of the body, including the eyes or anywhere else, then you should be okay. I use them all the time. This is a gorgeous lens. This is the 55 f1.8. You will also see a 55 f2. They're the same lens, but just marked differently. Maybe the aperture opens up slightly wider in the 1.8, I don't know, but they're the same lens. You cannot do better. This is a fantastic combination, fantastic camera, fantastic lens, and it's got that vintage camera style, so you just can't go wrong with this one. One of these with this lens, somewhere between 80 and 150 pounds, not expensive for some film fun. And remember, if you don't like it, if you don't get on with it, the prices of these old cameras and lenses are not going down because they're not making them anymore, so you'll always be able to sell it on. And if you've not paid too much in the first place, then you won't lose out, and you might even make a small profit. So a fantastic camera and lens combination, well worth getting hold of. Okay, the next camera I've got to show you is a personal favourite of mine. It's an enduring personal favourite. I liked it when it was new and in the shops 40-50 years ago, and I still really like it now, and it's this camera and lens. It's the Zorki 4K and the good old Jupiter 8. This is a fantastic little camera and lens combination. This is a rangefinder camera, so unlike the previous camera, this one, which is an SLR or single lens reflex, where you look through the lens, you see through the lens when you look through the viewfinder. In a rangefinder camera you don't. You look through this little window here, this little viewing window, the viewfinder, which looks straight through the camera body, through this window here. But you do see an almost exact view of what the lens sees. So rangefinder cameras tend to be smaller. You focus them by turning the lens and looking at a split image that you see in the viewfinder. So you'll see something that looks, I don't know, roughly like this, and as you turn the focus control, the two images will come together, and when they're exactly together like that, then you're focused. If you go too far, you're out of focus again, but bring it back and you're back in focus. It's a very simple, very effective, very old and very clever way of focusing. And I forgot another it's very accurate too, as long as it's in adjustment. This is one of the simplest cameras you can get. It's 1930s, essentially 1920s/1930s technology. What happened was the original Leica 2 was copied, exactly reverse engineered by the Ukrainian photo industry, the Fed company, which were then everything was under the umbrella of the Soviet Union. So that camera, the Leica 2, was reverse engineered, and they made that for a number of years, and they got really good at this rangefinder tech, and so they developed it, and one of the developments was this camera, the Zorki 4K. These were made, well, there was a Zorki 4, this has a lever wind. The 4K has a lever wind, and that's really handy. There was an earlier model, the Zorki 4, with a knob wind on top, so you kind of wind the knob there. That one hurts my fingers, so I don't use the Zorki 4s. I only ever use, if I'm going to use a Zorki, I'll use the 4K because of that lever wind, which makes it so much simpler and easier to use. It's a very nicely made camera. It's built to a price. You can see that when you handle it and when you look at it. It certainly doesn't have the exquisite polished feel that a Leica camera does. In fact, quite the opposite of that. It has rather an unpolished feel, but it's polished enough to use and to work reliably. This one is, what, 50 years old now or thereabouts, probably a bit more, and it still works nicely. Of course, like any machine, you'll need to service it, but keep it serviced, keep it good. And these will last indefinitely. There is simply no limit to the lifetime of a mechanical camera if you look after it and have it maintained and serviced. There is no light meter in this camera, but you can put a nice little clip-on one on the top there. I've got one by Astra Hori, but there are many, many others you can choose from, and that turns it into a really powerful machine. It's got a Jupiter 8 lens on it, this beautiful little optic, which I absolutely love. It's a copy of the 1930s Zeiss sonar design, so this is a good way of getting a real 1930s experience in your photography. Now you can still experience that now, and it's very simple, very easy to use once you just remember that the light meter is giving you your readings for your shutter speed and your aperture setting. One very important thing about these ones, never ever ever change the shutter speed until you've wound the camera on, because damage could result. So wind on first and then change your speed, otherwise you could break your camera. So love the little lens, Jupiter 8, and it's on an it's on an L, not an M, but an L39 lens mount. And this was the Leica lens mount from the 1930s, and as a result, this camera will shoot thousands, possibly tens of thousands of lenses. It will shoot all the Leica lenses, it will shoot lenses by Reed, lenses by Canon, who also used the L39 system for a while, and all the former Soviet lenses, the Ukrainian Fed lenses, the Russian Jupiter lenses. One of these will cost you around about, well, I've seen these recently for as little as £40. I've seen these recently for as much as £100. So anywhere between those two figures. I would bargain on most of them, going between £50 and £70. But for that, you'll get a fantastic little camera that will last indefinitely. It just will not wear out or go wrong as long as you keep it maintained. And it's got a beautiful little 50mm f2 lens that's a copy of the Zeiss sonar from the 30s. You can't do better than that. This is a fantastic little machine, and a really good little machine to learn film photography on. Okay, next we have a really nice camera and lens combination. Here it is. This is the Nikon FM plus the lens, a Nikkor 50mm f2, and these two just complement each other perfectly. The lens is gorgeous, it gives fantastic colour, it's very sharp from wide open, and it gives some nice background blur also, although this one can turn a little rough from time to time. Most of the time it's soft and lovely. The camera is the Nikon FM. This is an all manual camera, similar to the Pentax Spotmatic that we looked at first of all. It's all manual, and the way you do your exposure is through the viewfinder, where you'll see, again, like in the Spotmatic, a little needle. And when the needle, if you adjust your aperture and shutter speed and the needle becomes in the right point, the needle gets to the right point, which is indicated in the screen, then you've got your correct exposure. It's really, really simple system, really, really easy system, and it gives you very quick, very fast control over your exposure. No automation at all on this camera. There's no auto exposure. There's certainly no auto focusing because it's a vintage SLR. But you know, these focusing screens on this SLR, if you've ever used focus peaking before, the focusing screen on any SLR, not just this one, is better than focus peaking. This optical system that was developed for SLRs with the little focusing screen in there in the works somewhere, just sitting up there under the prism. It's the best focusing system that's ever been devised. And it's such a shame that we can't have one on mirrorless cameras, because it is better than focus peaking. Peaking's good. It works 95% of the time. This works, what, 99.5% of the time. It's that good. But anyway, a really lovely camera and a really lovely lens, and they suit each other perfectly. This camera is mechanically just exquisite. It's a little bit noisy. It's not too noisy. It's not as noisy as some SLRs can be. They do tend to be a little louder than rangefinders. Rangefinders are usually quiet because there's not as many moving parts. In here we've got a screen, in any SLR we've got a screen that has to flip up quickly out of the way as soon as light comes to the film, as soon as the shutter opens. So inevitably there's a certain amount of mechanical noise, but this one, as SLRs go, is just gorgeous. That's such a whisper smooth, snickety snick sort of sound. A beautiful, beautiful camera, a beautiful, beautiful lens. What will these cost? Well, Nikon gear does cost a little more than much other vintage camera gear, but I would say you could get one of these bodies with the f250mm lens for somewhere between £150 and £200. They're not terribly expensive, and you know, as always, as I say, if you don't like it, you can always sell it on. These cameras are not losing their value. Why? Because they're not making them anymore, and there's a fairly large number of consumers chasing a diminishing pool of working good cameras, so prices will only go one way. This is a gorgeous machine. You cannot do better. You absolutely cannot do better. It's probably a bit more expensive than the Spotmatic. It's no better a camera than the Spotmatic, but somehow it just feels a bit nicer in the hand. Beautiful camera, very, very well worth getting, and a great way to start in film. All right, I've got one more camera to show you today, and it's this one. This is another enduring personal favourite, and it's just a delightful little camera. This is the Olympus OM2, and it's wearing the 50mm, Olympus 50mm f1.8, and this camera lens combination is just fantastic. This camera is probably, if you're used to shooting DSLRs or mirrorless cameras, modern ones with automation and electronics, this camera might be a very easy way into film, because this camera has aperture priority auto exposure. And it's really great because you can set it to auto on the top deck here. Set your aperture and the camera will choose the appropriate shutter speed for you. It takes away one step of thinking, one step of concentration, and there's one less thing to do. It will shoot in manual as well. It's not only an auto camera, but it does have that auto facility to perhaps ease the transition a little into film if you're coming only from having shot only electronic cameras. As I say, this is an enduring favourite, and the reasons for that are its small size. This is a tiny camera. These Olympus cameras are really, really small. They're significantly smaller than the Nikon, and I think they're smaller than the Pentax. Let's have a look. Yeah, so the Pentax is a little wider than the Olympus. It's a little deeper than the Olympus, and I think it's possibly a little bit taller as well. Yes, it is. Can you see that? It's actually a little bit taller, maybe a centimetre taller. So these really are very small cameras. The size of the body is not too different to my old Leica 2 camera, which is a really small, fantastic little machine. So they're really small in size. They're fairly light also, and they look really good. Now, is that a shallow reason for liking a camera? I don't know, maybe it is, but if it is, then I'll put my hands up and say guilty as charged, because this is a beautiful looking camera. Look at the top deck, look at those controls. The back is all nice and neat and trim. The front looks technical. It's covered in dials and numbers and figures. All right, all the other cameras are as well, but this one, just to my eye anyway, seems just that little bit nicer looking. These are very long-lived cameras. They do have electronics, and it may be that those electronics will one day fail, but touch wood, this one is working very nicely right now, so there's no reason why we can't grab one and use it now. And who knows, it may last many years. It may even outlast me, this one. Who knows? Let's switch it to auto and fire it. See if we've got enough light in here. We should have. Yes, fairly long exposure. Shorter if we turn it to the light. So there's the auto exposure mechanism working. That's about a second. Turn it to the light and it's about, I don't know, much shorter and much quicker. You can use it on manual as well, as I say. Turn it to manual and you just use it. There's a little meter in the viewfinder there, at least I think there is. Let me make sure. Yeah, there is. So just like the other two SLRs we've looked at, there is a little needle for the meter, for the light meter, inside the viewfinder there, which you can see. It's on the left on this camera. The lens is the 50mm f1.8. This is a gorgeous little lens. There are silver nose. The early versions are silver nose versions, and the later ones don't have the silver ring, and they're known as black nose versions. The very latest of all have the words "Made in Japan" written on the lens ring there, on the lens faceplate, and they are the nicest ones. They're said to be, and having compared them and tested them and reviewed them, I can say yes, they are. I can confirm that. So if you can, get one with a Made in Japan lens, but if not, all the lenses are nice. None of them are awful. They're all fantastic. It's just that this one is just that little bit nicer. So a really nice camera and lens combination. What can we expect to pay for one of these? Well, I guess around about 150 to 200 pounds. You may get one cheaper than that because Olympus cameras are not as expensive as Nikon kit, so you might find one for around about 100, 120 pounds, that sort of figure. But they're affordable, and as always with vintage gear, look after it. The price is only going one way, and that is up, not down, because they're not making these cameras anymore. Very, very, very nice piece of kit and one of my personal favourites. So there we are, 4 fantastic camera and lens combinations. All of them will offer a very easy way into shooting film if you haven't done it before, or if you've been away from film for a while and you want to come back to it. Any of these will make a fantastic place to start. So there we are, that is about it from me for today. Many, many thanks for watching. If you've got this far, a particular thanks to you. If you've enjoyed this show, why not chuck us a sub? That would be very much appreciated. And if you like what this channel is doing, keeping this old gear, cameras and lenses alive, you might want to consider becoming a patron. You can do that over at www.patreon.com/Zenography, and you can do that from as little as $1 per month. That helps me to make more of these shows. It makes it much easier to make more of these shows. So please do consider doing either or even both of those things. Many, many thanks to subscribers for your support. That support is really appreciated. Many, many thanks to patrons for your support. That support is really appreciated. Thanks to anyone who's watched, tuned in, given thanks, super thanks, or engaged with the channel in any way. And if you keep coming back here time after time, many, many thanks to you. And if you're a new visitor to the channel, many thanks to you. Also, thanks to everybody. As from me, that's it for now. But if you're not doing anything too awful, difficult or irritating this week, next week even, at around this time, please do check in and join me for a spot more Zenography. Cheerio all.